Hello, I'm Rakesh Saraf. I've been writing since I was 13 years old. My first work was a mini novel, a crime thriller if you please. My father treasured that manuscript for many years, and then one day he just lost it. I've written everything from poems to short stories to full-length novels in 3 languages, in English, Hindi and Urdu. But I've had other careers as well. As a CPA, I worked with KPMG, as well as the CFO of a company in Toronto in Canada. Later on, I became a serial entrepreneur, as well as a husband to my lovely wife Roma for 50 years, father to 2 lovely brats, as well as a dog dad and a cat dad to 4 adorable pets. It's been a joyous journey, but writing has remained my true passion. Sorry, Roma, but this year I decided that I'd like to bring my stories alive and reach more people, and YouTube seemed to be the perfect platform to do so. Although I don't think there was a particular time when I actually took a conscious decision, I used to read a lot of books when I was young. In fact, I was the only person in our family who had to wear glasses at the age of 13, because I used to read so much, and I used to read in poor light and good light, at school, at home, on vacation. Any time that I could find time, I would read. Eventually, I decided that I wanted to tell a story of my own, and there it was. I started writing it, chapter by chapter, tearing off the pages from my copybook, circulating it amongst my friends in school, and they'd all love it and say, "We're waiting for the next chapter. Come on, quickly, write the next chapter." That's how it began. Honestly, I can't remember it that well, but it was about a crime, and it wasn't based in India, it was based abroad, because a lot of the books I'd read weren't by Indian authors, they were based on American authors, and that's how I wrote it. I mean, it was crime, it was gangster stuff, it was the usual pulp fiction. That's all it was. But it was an effort at the age of 13 to write something like that. I like writing about human interest stories, the day-to-day challenges of any human being. Many of them are stories about women and the challenges they face, especially in our country, the problems that they face and they try to overcome. Most of my characters are strong, some of them are weak, but a lot of them face the problems that most people in day-to-day life face, such as, in the case of women, such as the kind of abuse, both physical and mental abuse that they go through. In the case of men, mostly they are weak-natured, and I depict them as such, and they are easily influenced. In my full-length novel, The Path to Redemption, it was about this character who was weak and easily malleable and pliable towards extremist views, and that's how he lost his way. And then he tried to redeem himself in the rest of the novel. So these are problems that people face on a day-to-day basis, and that's what I weave my stories around. It's strange. I mean, in the case of poems, in poetry, one word inspires me, maybe an Urdu word. I write a lot of Urdu poetry, both in Hindi script as well as in Urdu script. But it's just one word that inspires me and makes me, my mind imagine things, and I start writing. In the case of stories, it's again a particular person's character or a characteristic that I build a story around. So it's not, I don't plan stories ahead of time. I don't have plots that are completed. I just pick up my laptop and I start typing. I don't think there was a particular time when I realized that writing was my passion. It's always been a passion. People who read a lot, I find many of them start writing their own stuff. And that's what I did. Because I was such an avid reader, my father, my grandfather, my father and my dada, they were all avid readers. And I mean, that was a disease I also picked up. And I used to read amazing, adult books. When I say adult, I don't mean porno adult. I mean books that adults read at the age of 13, 12, 11. I'd read French authors, Russian authors, English authors. So eventually the passion rose within me to start telling stories. Poems particularly, stories not so much, but yes. For example, the character in The Path to Redemption in some ways was me. Not a lot of the bad things that he did. I didn't do any of those. But poems definitely, many of them are how I feel and how I see life. So I write about those things. With great difficulty. As you know, I run a business too, and it is challenging. What I try to do is on weekends, sometimes in the evenings, or sometimes when work pressure is less, I go to a cafe somewhere close to where I live, and I just take my laptop with me and I write. I may write just for half an hour, I may write for 45 minutes, an hour, and I piece it together later. I think what I enjoy most about writing is that I lose myself in a fantasy world. Because I tell stories, I'm actually there, mentally, emotionally, I'm there in those stories. I'm watching what's happening. And that's how the stories unfold. I don't decide on a particular plot beforehand. I don't decide on a structure. I just start writing. Something inspires me, like Bajuram's story in The Italian Job. I just thought that it would be great to write a piece of fiction that actually went beyond what the reality was. Quite honestly, the people who have inspired me, or the people I admire the most, I started reading them much later in life. For example, Salman Rushdie is one of my favorite authors. I've read most of his books, and I just am in awe of how he writes. Another author I admire a lot is Chitra Banerjee, Palace of Illusions and The Last Queen, which was a recent book. Amazing writing, amazing command of the English language, and almost magical storytelling. So these are the kinds of people that inspire me. The authors that I read in my early life were mostly overseas authors. They were people who lived in lands that I did not know at that time. So I did not write anything that was particularly telling at that time about those things, about those backgrounds, about those kinds of scenarios that they wrote about. A short story can take me typically anywhere from 6 hours to several days, depending on whether I run out of juice or run out of inspiration. You know, there was a philosopher, I think maybe in the 15th or 16th century, a French philosopher called René Descartes. He wrote a very, very telling line. I think, therefore I am. That is who Rakesh Saraf is. I think a lot. I'm always lost in thought, whether I'm working or I'm writing or I'm just chilling. I'm always lost in thought. My mind keeps racing. So my identity is that of a person who thinks and thinks and thinks. And that's what makes me who I am. Honestly, I've not been a big user of social media or YouTube before, but now I'm really excited to see what I can learn about how to use YouTube and social media to get my stories and poems across to the public, to have people read them, see them, watch them, and I'm really excited about trying to learn new things about social media. I hope to bring you my stories and poems, not only in the written form, but also in a visual form. I want to see my stories come alive by way of short videos or short films that I can post here. And maybe more people will be inspired to begin their writing and creative journeys as they tag along with me here. I'm excited to learn and share and hope that you will be as enthused with my work as I have been these past few years. The genie is out of the bottle now, and it's not going back in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.